So if you've gotten part one of our conversation, which went on for so long that we decided we'll turn this into a part two, we are now going to talk about what TV shows we are watching. Haroon, what are you watching these days?
So I'm watching 4 dramas, and I'm just going to list them now, and then we can talk about them. I'm watching Ye Dil Mera, which is just finished. I'm watching Pyar Ke Sadqay. I'm watching Sabat, and I'm watching Dilruba. There is a few on my list to begin. I was just waiting for a couple of these to finish. So Kashf, I know you're watching, which I really want to begin. Jhuti and Ishqiyan, I've heard mixed things about, but they are very popular right now, so I'm intrigued to know more. And then there's a couple that are about to start, which I want to watch as well.
Okay, I'm watching what you just mentioned. I'm not watching Dilruba, though I know what Dilruba is about, and I've got a couple of episodes. My mom loves it, so she tells me everything about it. Uh, I'm also watching Dushmane Jaan, which comes from Monday to Thursday on ARY, and I'm also watching Kashf, like you said, and a bunch of other dramas here or there, which I know, which again I just catch them in the go, and then I look at them, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I know what's gonna happen here, so I don't do watch the whole thing. So tell me, start with Pyar Ke Sadqay. Love it,
So
hate it. What would you change about it?
Pyar Ke Sadqay is, it breaks my heart that it's going so wrong right now, because I loved the first 10 to 12 episodes of this show. I loved it so much that it was quickly climbing to my top position of my favorite dramas. I love the characters of Marjabeen and Abdullah. I love the little quirks they have. I love the small little things in their romance. Their chemistry is, I mean, firstly, I think Bilal and Yumna are excellent actors in this drama. You know, I think both of them and the supporting cast, Umair Rana, Atika Odo, I think they are all very Yashma Gill as well. I think they're all good, right? That's the first thing I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think what I saw this growing into becoming was this underdog story of how two misfits empower one another to grow in confidence and in strength, and you know they become one another's superpower almost. And
That's what I was expecting as well. Yes.
And I really saw it in, and I have to say, I think the visualization of the drama is really good. I actually see it like a Disney film. You know, the color schemes, the lenses that they use. You know, when they go to Gulirana's house, you know that there's going to be a brown tinge on the frame. You know, when they're in her parents, you kind of know the colors. Bilal's wardrobe, Yumna's wardrobe, so much stuff to enjoy in this drama. And then they include two things which I just think were unnecessary. Firstly, the whole father-in-law angle. You know, I think it was unnecessary. And then this whole Shanze second marriage storyline was unnecessary. In fact, Shanze's character actually started off as really good. She was this independent, liberal woman who wasn't interested in marrying someone who she thought was beneath her. And that's okay. It's okay to have characters like that. But this whole kind of her losing grip over her own life, her self-confidence falling apart, her thinking that she has no worth unless she remarries someone. These are hugely problematic things in my mind.
Yes.
That's my verdict on Pyar Ke Sadqay.
Where do you see it going? What do you think is going to happen?
Look, I'm ever the optimist. I hope that they manage to, because I do think the drama will eventually come to the point where Abdullah and Marjabeen will start to empower one another. But I hope they don't have to go down to the gutter before they get there. You know, the drama doesn't need that. The tone and the pace is so positive and uplifting that it doesn't need to get down and dirty to go back up. But I think for the next 5 or 6 episodes, they're going to explore the father-in-law harassment storyline, which is unnecessary, and they're going to. And I think he probably will get married a second time, right? I guess.
I think so too, and that's my problem with what Pyar Ke Sadqay has turned into. Much like you said, it's started off as this great, lovable story. I'll have to admit, Marjabeen was a little annoying in the beginning. I felt like she was a bit too OTT. And I'm like, oh, do we really need to create women into that manic pixie dream girl or the Madonna or that other bad woman complex? Do we need to create those complexes in order to make women acceptable as humans? And I think Fleabag is a wonderful example of what good characterization can do. You can like a completely unlikable character and find your own humanity in that. And I
Yeah.
think that it's not that, oh, we don't have great writers like Phoebe Waller-Bridge or anything. It's not that. We do have great writers, and I think that they sort of get, again, going into that whole debate. Watch part one for that, whoever's watching this right now. That we do have that whole network execs want this, they want this storyline, they want that storyline, etc., etc. But I think that that is the biggest problem with Pyar Ke Sadke. I don't think that the harassment story is unnecessary. I think that it's a very nice angle, but it's probably played out weirdly now. Especially that this girl is saying that, oh, this happened, and the family knows and everybody knows. And one of the biggest plot holes is, for me, is that Mansoora, Atika Odo's character, knows is this now. Now it's like people have come and said this to her on her face that, listen, your husband is doing this. And it's Mahjabeen's parents who have come and they've said that. And she's still like, oh, she's like, well, I'm not even going to investigate this. I'm not going to even like talk about it or sort of pick on this issue. So she's not doing any of that. So that's a big problem for me. Then there is a different, for me, Abdullah's character is very, very inconsistent. It doesn't, so much of the stuff. And, I feel bad for Bilal Abbas because he's an actor par excellence. I think among the youngest lot, he is definitely one of the best boys that have come forward. And if I don't know, have you watched Aurangzeba?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Cheek. So I've
Amazing.
watched him do
He,
a range of roles.
yeah. So he's got this amazing range, and whatever material he has for Abdullah, I think he's tried to understand it to the best of his knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with how he's doing it. He is this unsure guy. And my mom had a very interesting feedback about Abdullah or the characters. Like, he just listens to whatever, whoever's saying him. If his wife is telling him, look, please don't marry somebody else. If his girlfriend is saying, look, please marry me. If his stepfather is saying, look, please don't do this. And if his mother is, then his sister. So he really doesn't have a personality of his own. And what I was really hoping was that either through Shanze or through Majabin or something, he would come into his own. He would be the, like you said, the rise of the underdog. But that, and his rise is what? Marrying another girl who was an ex, so to speak. That was really
So
disappointing.
I think you mentioned two really interesting points there, and one of those for me is uh, his character is. I actually think his character is a mashup of many Ranbir Kapoor characters. That's my first bit of feedback. I
Really?
think there's,
Yeah,
I
I
think
didn't think of it that way.
I think there's a bit of the inconsistent, undecisive wake up Sid.
Okay.
There's the small quirks of Burfi. There's a little bit of Jaga Jasoos in his look, the glasses. I really don't understand why he wears glasses without any lenses in them. They're clear frames. I don't know why that is the case. I kind of get that Ranbir Kapoor vibe. But my problem with Pakistani dramas is they write good characters, but they never explain why the characters are the way they are, right? Now, clearly, looking at his behavior, I think that he is somewhere on the spectrum of autism. I
Yes,
think he
yes,
he
sure.
has
I think so.
he has some form of autism.
Yeah.
Why do you not educate your list? I mean, why are you not educating your viewers and
That's
telling them?
such a good conversation.
And the
There's
thing is,
also a missed opportunity in Ranja Ranja Kaddi.
exactly. So Raja Ranjakaddi is the prime example of this.
How to not
Clearly,
talk about it.
Bola's character has some mental health problems.
Yeah.
Why are you not telling us what his condition is? Why are you not giving us a medical diagnosis for what his condition is? So the listeners also, so the viewers also understand that, okay,
Yeah.
this is how a man with this condition
Yeah.
deals with this kind of scenario. And
Yeah.
I think this is not a criticism of Imran Ashraf or Bilal
Oh,
Abbas,
not
because
at
I think that
all. Not at all.
this is what they've been given to work with.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
in the case of Pyar Ke Sadke, Bilal is doing a great job.
Yes.
But if only they could tell us, what is it? What is it? Is he has he got Asperger's syndrome? What
Yeah.
is his
Yeah.
condition?
And
So
it's so interesting. Like you just mentioned, I was watching Community. Have you seen Community? So in
I've
the
seen it
first,
pop up, but I've not watched it yet.
okay, so just go through the first 2 3 episodes. There's a character called Abid, very lovable character, very famous. So in Community, Abid comes and he's like, oh yeah, and he's just talking on, and you know how sometimes people with on the spectrum don't really have a filter, and they just on and on giving information which is not needed. So the main character comes and he says, oh, by the way, you have Asperger's, and he just walks off, and it's like just like a light moment. Nobody needs to like, okay, go into detail and to explain what are the diagnostic criteria of autism or Asperger's syndrome is. Just, it was like a light comment made. So obviously it could have been done in a much better way. But I feel like, yeah, you're right. It was a missed opportunity.
And so I kind of feel like I lose respect for some shows when they underestimate the intelligence of the audience.
Yes.
Personally,
Then we now, Harun, talk about Ye Dil Mera, which also had a lot of heartbreaking moments and not in a good way. What was your take?
so I think again I love the first. So tend to avoid Pakistani dramas week by week. I like waiting for about 10 to 15 to build up, and then I binge watch them, and then I know whether I want to stick with this or not. And I love the first 15 episodes of Ye
Hmm.
Dil Mera. I thought it was really refreshing,
Yeah.
a great change for Pakistani dramas. This was a romantic thriller. It was a bit Bazigar. I think it's very Bazigar actually in the style of essentially this young broody man trying to take revenge for
By
his
marrying the
parents'
daughter
murder
and everything.
and
Yeah.
marrying the daughter. So it's the same storyline up until that point, that aspect of it anyway. Um, but then, like, I don't know what happened in the last 10, 15 episodes, but it just dragged on. And like a good 5, 6 episodes were just flashback sequences and a car journey from Islamabad to
Buaji
Daryabad
and Buaji.
and Buaji. And I, I genuinely think Sajal and Ahad and Adnan and Mira were all really good. I actually think the performances were exceptionally good in this drama.
Yeah.
And look, particularly Sajal and Ahad, I think this is Ahad's best performance.
Yeah.
Sajal is consistently good in everything she does, but she is excellent in this as well. And I think Farhad Ishtiaq did a good job with the story. It's new, it's fresh, it's different. Something massively messed up though.
Yeah, I think it was the editing. It was, I think, the production value that they like. That there are a couple of scenes which are completely shot in one room. There is no other room. It seems in that gigantic mansion of Mir Farooq Zaman, who's like this ultra billionaire, but he has no other house. He has no other room. Like there's just no room. There's just one room with the yellow sofa and the yellow light. So there's nothing else. Then you have the inconsistencies of clothes, and then shots. I mean, there's this one episode which was particularly jarring so badly because Ahad and that old guy are sitting and they're talking, and they literally shoot two shots. One shot of Ahad talking like this, and then the other shot of that guy addressing Ahad, and that's it. They are the only two shots that are there, and it goes on for a very long time. Because I remember going through the episode and I'm like, oh my god, will this ever end? And is he saying something else? I would have been still interested. Like if I want to compare it to Pyar Ke Sadke, the scenes between Gule Rana and Umair Rana are shot in the same way, and they are literally, I don't think they are any in any other space. They're in that space consistently. But those are one of the best scenes of the TV show because there is such great acting. And this is no way by saying that, oh, Ahad's acting isn't great. Ahad's acting is great too. But the energy of that scene and the energy of that scene is like किसी ने सर से उतारा है ये, and that scene has been created with love. So sometimes even a one act or a one person play can engage you, and sometimes an ensemble cast with song and dance and fanfare can just disappoint you. And I think that is what happened with Ye Dil Mera. Completely agreed that Sajal and Ahad, this is definitely Ahad's best for sure. But is it Farhat Ishtiaq's best? I don't think so. And I think that she's been very upset about it also because she's been talking about it on Twitter, as in that there were a lot of scenes that were cut. And I think some of those scenes were really crucial. But I think that Yaki Ka Safar is probably one of Farhat's best. And definitely
What a
not
drama!
Ehsan Talish's best. No.
What a drama, Yakin Kasafar. I feel like rewatching it after watching
Yeah, me
Yedin.
too. Me too.
It's just such an excellent drama.
What
But
about Ishkia? You're hearing good things about Ishkia. I haven't watched it.
before I mention Ishkia, can I just ask you what do you, where does the responsibility lie
Hmm.
with Ye Dil Mera's downfall? Because I watched an interview that Ehsan Talish did with
I,
Something Hot,
yeah, I saw.
and in that interview he said to Hassan Chaudhry, he said, my job as a director is done if I can deliver the story. If the story makes sense to the listener, then I've done my job as a director. And continuity issues aren't my problem. And I find that a big issue. If you are the
No,
director,
definitely his problem. Who else's problem is it?
I mean, some people say it's the actor's responsibility. I know some people think that the actors should take more of an interest in the continuity of their character as well. Is it a mixed? Is it everybody? Is everybody a little bit too lapsed in kind of those issues? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think that if I'm an actor and I'm in three different shows at the same time, which even some directors are. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ehsan Talish was also directing that Sono Chanda season two or thing or
Two.
something.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And I think that it's fair for people to do that. Either actor or the director, they're in between of many shoots. So if the production or the director directly himself is not responsible, but maybe one person can just look at the previous scene and how it was cut and where it was cut and what lipstick shade or the hair or the clothes they were wearing. I don't think you need to personally be there and monitor it. You just need to assign somebody, sort of like delegate. And I think that is a mess up on part of the obviously the director, but I think the actors can also be faulted that it is eventually your brand. You are the people who are going to go and then get face the flack. How many people do you think will look at it as Ehsan Talish's show? They are
No,
going to
no.
call it Sajal and Ahad or Adnan Siddiqui or Mira Sethi or Rabia Bhatt's show. They're not going to call it Ehsan Talish's show as much as it's going to be called as the main actor's show. So I
But then
think
the problem is also that I would love to know what the process of shoot to so execution to delivery is, because for example there was a really pivotal episode of I think about four or 5 weeks ago where Sajal's character Anna has this revelation where all of a sudden Ahad comes back to the cottage and she knows everything. She knows that her mum and his mum were friends. She knows that she was injured in this garden, and obviously through Twitter we know that Farid Ishtiyaka said there was a pivotal scene missing.
yeah.
But who does that buck lie with? Who has messed up there? I would like to know.
I think I would like to know too, and I want to be the fly on the wall where the final editing was done, and they're like, okay, now it's ready to go on air, and they'd be like, and there was nobody picking up on these issues, right? So I think there has to be, the fault does lie with the editing, whoever's edited it, and definitely with the producers and the directors, and it's Momina Durayat, I think, who has done this, and I know that Momina is very invested in her projects, so I think that if this was such a big project, and it was one of their biggest, highest rated TV shows, and it
Yeah,
trended, and it always trends, and Sajal and Ahad were very big because they got married during the time as well,
yeah.
so it was getting so many eyeballs. So I don't know what happened there, honestly, but what I can understand is that there is a blame on all sides, and I think that if actors genuinely feel that they are being taken for a ride, or if they don't feel like the project is doing them justice, they should take a step up. And if the directors do feel that they're getting the short end of the stick by the actors, they should speak up, which I think Essen did. And producers who are manning the shows and they are at the mantle, they, at the end of it, the responsibility lies with them, even if the name doesn't. Essen is going to go on and do 20 more shows. Sajal and Ahad will be great in 20 other shows, but this is going to be permanently with Hum TV. So I think
So
Hum
I think
TV
the
should sort.
channel, 100%. I think the channel also just need to readdress their priorities,
Yes,
because
yes,
I was looking I was looking online, and so Humsafar had 23 episodes. Zindagi Gulzar had 23 episodes. Sadqay Tumhare had 26 episodes. I think Yaqeen Ka Safar had 27 or 28 episodes, something like that. Clearly, we're seeing that over time, dramas are becoming longer in
yeah,
length.
yeah.
Mere Paas Tum Ho was the
90s,
exception.
yeah, 90 in the 90s you had 12 or 13. It was a quarter. That
So
TV show would air
clearly,
for a quarter. Yeah.
that these writers are having to stretch out their narrative to
Yes.
fill in a certain number of episodes, which is actually harming the brand of the channel. People
Thing
will
is,
stop watching the
unless
dramas.
unless you have something like Kitni Gire Baki Hai, which had a story-wise episode, like each episode was a different story, then you can
Yeah.
go on for 50, 60, nobody cares. But
Or even Suno Chanda, which was 30 episodes, but the
on the
first season,
cast.
it made sense, because you knew where the narrative was going. Suno Chanda season one, actually, I think was very good in keeping that narrative going for 30 episodes. Not season two so much, but season one for sure.
Yeah, no, season two also was something. I felt like it was like trying to do too many things at once. But one
Yeah,
I really liked, although I had a lot of problems with it as well. But yeah, it was fun and breezy and easy, and you
yeah.
knew what it was. So there wasn't like a subterfuge to it. I want to talk about Kashf. I also want to talk about Dushman Jaan, which I want to recommend to you that you watch. And I think they're great because they have a great cast and they are different also. Dushman Jaan is a bit of a thriller as well, well directed despite Muhib Mirza and Amin Iqbal's previously not so great collaborations. And Kashf is great because I love Danish Nawaz's work. He's, I think, one of those directors who literally picks up the project and sort of like absorbs them, and then he just doesn't do anything else. I felt that way with Khas. I had a lovely conversation with him earlier for Masala, and I remember talking to him about how the conversations, so how the scenes he creates, and how he looks at a script and what is the process. And he talked about how he looks for logic in each of the scenes, and he's like, if there's no logic. And he also talked about how Twitter tends to, or social media tends to make a big deal out of something small. They just pick up something small, which is what a lot of these drama critics do. They don't watch the TV show. They just like sort of start ranting about it based on that one clip, which happened with Gedil Mira as well. So I
Yeah.
mean, Kash, do watch Kash, because even though it has some problems, and I do feel some of the characters are also inconsistent, but it's still a good watch because of Hira and Junaid. I think they make a great pair.
Yeah, and I just think Hira. I love Hira anyway, but I love how she's come into her own over the last 2 years. I think her story is quite inspirational for a lot of people. So I want to watch that drama anyway. Also, it's quite different from a Dobol or a Galti. It
Yeah.
seems very different.
It is. It is. She's very dressed down. She's not the heroine, and I think she's one of the very underrated actresses. And she's such
Yeah,
a great actress. Again, it's a TV show of hers, Pugly. If you can watch that, that's a great TV show. You should definitely catch it because it's so sweet, and it's a girl who has a dissociative fugue, and
right.
she is now living in this house, and she's trying to come to terms with her memories. So that's really great. We also should talk about Sabat, which I think is definitely Mavra Hussein's best career best.
100%. So I said to you earlier, I like watching dramas once they build up, but
Yeah.
Sabat and Dilruba I watched as they were airing,
Yeah.
just because I was intrigued about both, and because I do really like Hanya and I really like Mavra. But
Yeah.
absolutely, Sabat, 100% Mavra's best performance till date. I think the story is also, actually, the story aside, the way the relationship between a young woman and her parents is shown is brilliant.
Yeah.
The way is it Muhammad Ahmed, the actor who plays her
Muhammad
father?
Ahmed and Simi Rahil, yes.
They are so good. This should be the kind of standard of relationships that dramas are projecting to
Yeah.
the public. That
Yeah.
a young woman or a young girl can feel comfortable speaking to her parents about anything and everything, and not be scared that they're going to judge her or vilify her or
Yeah.
demonize her for
Yeah.
having those opinions. And I think it's wonderful.
And I think that when a woman like that says to her parents that, you know, I want to make you happy, I want to do things because I want to be loved by you for the choices I am making, that is when it's justified, as compared to those toxic, abusive parents where the damsel in distress is like, because I'm very, like, I'm such a good daughter and I want to prove what a great daughter I am, I'll go marry this really horrible jerk.
I think that this is a great stepping stone, but I think the next step has to be that that girl
Yeah.
doesn't need to be a dupatta wearing.
Doormat.
Um, sorry.
Not a dupatta wearing doormat.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I think we now need to move past this. We've now shown that a girl can have that relationship with her parents, and that her father and her mother are equally supportive.
Yeah.
Now let's show that that girl doesn't necessarily need to be protecting her modesty at all times to earn that respect from her parents. That
Yeah.
that parents should respect their children for whatever identity they choose to have.
Yes, and I think that this might not happen because the recent lecture that Muhammad Ahmed, her father, has given to us, that beta, whatever happens, remember you have to be the good person. Which a lot of people came back to me and said, but why? That's such a good message. And I'm like, no, not really. She has to be told how to survive in she's going in a pack of wolves, literally. It's a
Yeah,
crazy freaking family. This boy has clearly antagonized them all by deciding to marry this girl, and her strength is her biggest strength, and her being the goody two shoes is not going to help her in this family. Her being strong and standing her ground is going to help her family or her own image, or sort of like surviving in that family. So I mean, I don't know what it's going to hold, but yeah,
are
props to the
you
writer so far.
are you worried that the drama is going to go in a downward spiral?
I'm so tired of being disappointed, Haroon. I don't want to be disappointed. For once, I just want a TV show that, like, that does not end in heartbreak.
because for me, I can't see how this drama is going to end well for anyone. Because Sarah Khan, this is the first drama I'm watching of
Yeah, me
Sarah Khan properly.
strangely, yeah.
I watched a few episodes of Diwali Shab. Actually, I watched about the first 10 episodes of Diwali Shab, and it didn't really do anything for me, so I didn't stick with it. But Sarah, this is the first time I'm watching Sarah Khan properly, and I think she's very good
She's
in
very,
her role.
very
Uh,
good at this role, yeah.
but the conviction that she has as Miral and the conviction that Mavra has as Anaya, I can't see this ending well for either of them.
Yes, absolutely. And I also feel like the Hassan's own journey is still not at that point where, like, there was a point where he decides that I'm going to leave the house. So had he
Yeah.
left the house and come back and made something of his own and then said, yes, now I'm going to marry this girl, he just basically flatlines in front of his parents' emotional blackmail, which is now giving me more anxiety. Like, oh my God, now it's going to come back and he's going to be like, oh, mommy, but I love you. Please don't hurt my beautiful, pretty wife. That kind of a thing.
I think he's a very good newcomer,
He,
Amir Gilani.
I think that in the beginning he was a bit like, but now he's like he's really come into his own, and I love it. I love the chemistry. I love the two of them together.
In fact, I've moved past thinking this is this guy's first drama. I, I,
Yes,
I've, I'm now watching him like any other actor,
yes,
which is a big achievement in
yes.
your first
I
first
agree.
drama. I think.
I agree. Also watch Dushmane Jaan. That's another recommendation. It's Tuba Siddiqui's small role, but she's there, and Madiha Imam and
Okay,
Mirza. So it's a good TV show. It's like very like it's fast. It's quick and fast, and you're like a lot of things are happening. Although right now it's a bit of at a stall, but it airs from Monday to Thursday, so it's like a lot of episodes. It has about like 7-8 episodes already, and I think that it's finally because Mohib Mirza and Amin Iqbal had teamed up for a TV show with Sanam Saeed, and it just it was just bad.
but
So
it had great production value, that show, right? This was the one that was set in the Pahari Laka, and it
yeah,
was
but
it.
none of them spoke like Pashtuns, and they had all like really fake and really terrible accents. Like, okay, have a fake accent, no problem, but at least work on it. And those accents are absolutely horrendous. And only
So
the
the
real act,
only
like Ajab Gul is a hardcore Pashtun, so his accent was amazing. But the rest
right.
of them were just like really atrocious. So yeah,
So obviously Mohib is in Dilruba as well,
yes,
which I think he might be. No offense to Mohib, but I think he might be the weakest link in Dilruba.
uh,
I just think he's a bit miscast in that drama.
yeah,
But I watched this film starring Mohib Mirza
Bachana,
years ago. I think Duktar was it called? Maybe.
Doktar and Bachana, he was in both.
So Duktar, I thought he was really good in, and I'm quite surprised that his career. I mean, I maybe expected him to be further ahead than he is at this point, but I'm glad to see more of him. I feel like I've seen
I
more of
think
him in the
some of
last two,
these
3 months.
actors they just tend to take TV too lightly, but they forget something that Ehsan Khan once said to me. I'm not going to forget it anytime soon. Is that we are a TV nation. So one thing that separates Pakistan from the rest of the world at this point in time, in a very bizarre digital world, is that we are still a TV nation, and the TV nation now needs to sort of is gradually moving towards the digital platforms. But are our content makers smart enough and are our actors smart enough to stay in the biz, because the attention spans are lessening, and the day we stop becoming a TV nation, I think a lot of us will, a lot of the people in the career in this career line of work, like the production and the channels, will have a lot to think about. I'm gonna wrap up now, Haroon. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. It's
I
been
want to say something really quickly.
yeah. Tell
I
me.
just want anybody watching this to
Uh,
take a moment
uh,
and realize how much talent there is on Pakistani television right now. Like every week when I watch the full dramas I'm watching, and I look at Kash, and I look at Juti, and I look around, and I think, and particularly the ladies, I'm talking about the actresses here. Look at how good they are, whether it's Sajjal or whether it's Yumna or Hania or Ikra or Hira or Mavra. I mean, people look in Pakistan, look to Bollywood, but just look inside Pakistan for a moment and realize how talented these actresses are. It's amazing.
I think it's amazing. And what is really upsetting to me is that half of the time we are trolling them, whether we call ourselves feminists or we call ourselves the, Ghairat Brigade or whatever it is that we're calling ourselves. But half of the time we spend on trolling them, and the other half we spend not watching their content. So I think that all the people who are constantly, talking about, oh, this person said that on that person's show, see, that was so problematic. agreed, you should definitely call out problematic behavior, but also go and endorse and watch their TV shows, give them the ratings, talk about it, sit on the telly or watch it on your YouTube and then talk about it. Because what's happening is, and I think that is one of the reasons why our TV shows don't get the respect, is that we always tend to talk about it when there's a controversy. But once that controversy died down, like I remember doing this for Ye Dil Mera, I was like, please watch the whole show, because Farat Ishtiyaq is not the kind of writer who will glorify sexual harassment at the workplace. She will not do it. And she didn't. And that show had a lot of other context to it. And people trolled her and Sajal and Ahad mercilessly. And I want to tell them that, look, go and watch our TV shows, then make an informed opinion, then criticize. And then if you want to bash them, go bash them. But then come up with a logical argument. Don't watch clips and don't watch tiny, tiny dialogues from 4 or 5 shows and then suddenly turn into a TV critic. Don't do that because then it's not fair to, like you said, so many talented people. And I really, really hope that we get that our girls get the love and the recognition that they deserve on an international platform, which is what I really, really wish that Pakistani heads and the big guys, start to think. They should start thinking in terms of a global conversation rather than, oh, I just need to get the TRPs and I just need to do an award show and I'll just make everybody happy with
Great note to end on.
that. Thank you so much, Haroon, once again. Always looking forward to what you're doing. And please, once the apocalypse blows over, please come to Dubai and we'll have one of our chats very soon.
I can't wait. Listen, I am on the first flight to Dubai. I need sunshine and I need beaches and I need everything Dubai can give me. But Mahwash, thank you so much for having me on here. I had a great time. Thank you.
I had a wonderful time as well. Thank you so much. This was a great chat. It was such a long chat, and so we've broken it in 2 parts. So if you haven't caught our first half, please check it out. Especially if you're a content creator in Pakistan, if you are somebody who has the power and who has the sort of, sorry, that's my kids, and that's also a note for me to end this. So if you have the power, if you have the grasp or the money or the influence to make better television, make better television. Thank you, Haroon Rashid from the BBC Asian Network and a fantastic journalist, entertainment reporter. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.